So the mics are hot and the cameras are on.
Oh, so fix your lipstick.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Everybody's like, not talking.
How do you manage 10 email addresses is what I want to know. How do you possibly manage
And you have
it?
the same
How
password?
How do you keep up with it? Because I'm getting there and I'm starting to struggle.
I used to do Apple email, but then it got unruly, so I just kind of have to check it every day. Sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not successful with that. So yeah, it's a struggle.
It's easier when your brain is young.
I do
Yeah,
email
it gets
forwarding
harder.
and forward them to my main email, and then I only have one to check.
Yeah.
I wrote all my emails and passwords down where I can't remember them.
If not,
I just forgot my password, and they email it to me.
right, just need 4.
I made sure I looked up that.
I'm
What's
really-
most embarrassing is when I pick up the phone and dial my own phone number because I forget who I'm calling.
I'm also dyslexic,
Oh, that's
so
just
to ask
Oh, in court.
where to ask
Got
you
it.
to put your
We're
password
not
in and
court.
then do it again,
So we're gonna
doesn't
have a
often
cell phone.
happen.
My son's dyslexic.
I think weapons would be at the top,
It's a strange thing.
kind of under flip-flops.
Although dyslexics are very well.
There's a sign over
I
here,
like to
what's
think
not
so.
allowed in here.
Yeah,
Just
that's
for
what it
court,
was when they
yeah.
tested it.
And weapons on the bottom, I
They
would
said
have
they
put
have
that at the top.
average ability.
Oh, flip-flops come first, though.
Hats.
Here's a little note guide if you
Oh,
want to take
lovely.
some notes for
That's
the
great.
PowerPoint I have for you.
Okay.
My husband said, what time are you coming home? I said, I have no idea.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna try to get you out of here in an hour, how's that? Sure.
Oh,
That'd be
okay, I
great.
told him by 8.
So, we're gonna do our best.
Thank you.
And not, last but not least, there you are. So traditionally, we always start our meetings right at 7 on the dot or 6 on the dot, whatever the time is. So you'll notice on council meetings, we always start the city recorder, or in this case, Zach, who will be your employee liaison, will be turning on the mics and the cameras like we did, and we'll talk about the Oregon Public Records laws, or open meeting laws, and stuff as we go along. But we're just waiting one more minute for Pam, is it? To get here, and then we'll get started. The boring stuff gets to be my job, so I'll try to make it entertaining and lively for
okay.
you. I can't promise anything, but I'll do my best. Oh, 6 o'clock. Okay. So the way this is set up is the dais is where you'll sit every night because that's where the microphones are and the camera, right? So that's recording you now live. We have a YouTube channel that this all gets pushed out to, and it records as well, so people can go back and look at our meetings. It also assists us with keeping track of our meeting minutes because it's recorded, right? So that's why we have you all sitting up here. You'll notice the big monitors will mirror what's on my computer, or in the case of the future meetings, Zach's computer. So you can see what's on my screen. If we had an audience that wanted to come and address you, and this was a presentation of some sort, we have a monitor on that wall and a monitor up here that moves out this way. So the audience can see also what you're looking at on those screens or on a PowerPoint or something along that line. So as we move forward, that's probably likely. I'm guessing you'll have artists coming and bringing you some sort of photographs or things of that nature that you'll want to discuss, and it's nice if you have a public for them to be able to see that. So let's get into some of the fun stuff. So you have a computer right in front of you. You were going to be given, or should already have gotten, an email address from the city. Okay, so it's incredibly important that all of your work for the city occur through your city email address. And you can see on the screen that your city email address is just your first initial and your last name, and they're all the same. and it's the @ci.sandy.or.us. Okay? And the reason that it's incredibly important for you to use all your business, do all your business with Sandy through this email address and moving forward, not your personal emails, is because it's open to public record. So if you're conducting city business on your personal email, then we're going to have access to your personal email if somebody makes a request for documents pertaining to your role with the city. So it's better for you and it's easier for us because we know that all of the correspondence on the city email address is archived and backed up and redundantly backed up. So we can, and it's easy for our IT department then if we get a request for documents that they can just go and pull it. Otherwise they got to work with you and your provider and so on and so forth. And there might be items, say it's a litigious issue, I don't expect that with the Arts Commission, but say it's a litigious issue, now your private emails could be subject to public records requests, and you don't really want that. So, not that I'm guessing anybody has anything, you know, exciting, but it's just a lot cleaner and a lot easier for you, and it's a lot easier for the city in order to maintain that. So this email address will also be your login to your computer that's in front of you. And it should have a switch user option on there. On your screen, is it on? I'm gonna walk around
Yeah.
and see.
Add a person?
Yeah, add a person.
Yep, okay.
Oh, add a person.
Oh, there it goes.
Add a person.
Oh,
To the
okay.
bottom left-hand corner. I think most people hit the down arrow.
And it says enter your email, they want
Yep,
this
so
city
first-
email?
First initial, last name,
Okay.
at ci.sandy.or.us, and it's on the screen in front of you, on the big screen.
I think Bill still had his. I think he hit lock instead of sign out.
Did you get him?
Here we go. Add person.
And then when you hit next, it'll ask for a password, and that's the change me exclamation point, capital M for me.
Okay. So, my new
Is there an
email
off on the
is
mouse?
So
it's
it
gonna
might be,
be-
is it not working?
a
Which one is capitalized?
triplet?
The capital C and a
Change.
capital
Capital
M.
E.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. Duh. All right.
Add.
Maybe.
That's
CI.
off on.
It doesn't seem to be.
Dot
Right
right
here.
here.
Oh.
Sandy.
Wrong
I
password.
just need a new battery.
Dot. OR. Dot
Capital
US.
C.
There you go.
Dave.
Yep.
Okay. Does this not function this way?
Hi there. Come on in.
Hello.
Guess
Hi,
which seat
Pam.
is yours?
Okay, mine's saying wrong password.
So we actually put change me?
Yep, change me
Just like it's on
exclamation,
the big
Just
one.
like- Okay.
capital
Doing
C,
email addresses right now.
H-A-N-G-E, capital M-E.
And the M in me
Last
is
minute to
is-
print off,
okay.
and I did that.
All these
With my
Chamber of
password.
Commerce statements from various cities.
Oh, I'm sorry, you know what, the A in change should be a
You're gonna put your first
at.
initial.
Okay.
Followed by your last
IT.
name.
IT surprised me here.
I'm so
C-H,
sorry.
at, or the little symbol for at,
Okay.
N-G-E, capital M-E, exclamation. Sorry about that, guys.
Right here.
That's all right.
For example, first initial last name.
I should have been reading had my reading glasses on when I was looking at it.
It works.
Okay.
Change me at, oh, wait a minute.
Just like this.
Let me see.
C-H, the little at symbol.
Oh, the A is the at.
Yeah,
Got it,
the A
okay.
is the at.
All right.
Enter your password.
So think of a new password, write it down.
Do we go back?
And Zach, the A is an at symbol.
Yep.
How long does it need to be? Does it matter?
No.
Next.
And then hit next.
Mm-hmm.
And then C-H pass.
Password is going to change me, but the A is going to be the at sign. Oh.
C-H-A or C-H?
C-H, and then the at sign.
And then the at.
Try now. Yep. The A will be the at sign.
Capital M.
E, and then exclamation.
We'll say Lou's got it.
Oh, it doesn't like it. Okay, something else.
Is it working?
Okay.
And then hit
Let's see.
next.
Yeah, looks like it is.
Awesome.
It keeps
What about you?
going back to the same thing on mine, so it doesn't like my
Yes.
name.
It didn't like your password?
Got it.
It's
I did.
still
Thank you
wrong
very much.
password.
Yeah.
Did you get in with the, let's try
No.
this.
I got in with the change me.
I'm supposed to put the change me in here too.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Hang
I haven't chosen a new password yet, so.
on. Okay, yeah. Go ahead and do that.
Okay, so
Did
we're
you
locked out.
did you
You're
put
gonna
exclamation
have
point at the
to
end?
Yeah, I did.
get you
I'm putting
squared
something
away
on
here
there.
with IT.
Let me try it.
Let's see if we can boot though.
Oh, Steve and I just did it.
Mhm.
Did you try changing it?
Mm-hmm.
What did you use?
Ex-council.
There we go.
Hey, David.
Hey, if you had started.
Yeah.
Thanks. Tim, I'm out. It's just you and Zach.
Okay. Hmm.
Hmm.
You still need to
Okay.
change me.
Did you do a capital?
I did
anything?
change me, and then I did next,
just
and then I read the
lowercase?
Google thing.
Mhm.
Okay, and then apparently I didn't do something right, so I have never got to the screen where you enter your new password.
See,
You have to hit the accept
You have to go,
at the bottom.
Oh,
you have to scroll down.
yeah,
I'm not trying to get your way.
yeah, get a nice space on here.
Scroll, I'm at the same place and.
Scroll down.
Scroll down on what page?
Oh, scroll here to
Oh,
accept. There you go.
Oh,
I did the same thing. I was like, why isn't
Oh,
it
sorry.
going
I
down
did the
there?
same thing. so
Okay.
just-
Now-
Everything
I
is,
used to-
yeah,
Yeah,
motion.
I think we
We're all
locked you
trained
out.
there.
Okay.
Now it's taking a step
So we'll
back.
have to get with IT and do
Does this
this at
require
another time, but I'll have
reading
everything on the
particular
screen for you
caps
tonight,
or
so you'll be able to
funny
see.
things or?
So you got at least
Okay.
8 characters. more than-
Something you'll
Okay.
remember.
Yeah.
That's the-
I'll send IT
What is
an
the
email
name?
right
What's the
now,
name?
Leah,
Is
so maybe they can change it tonight.
Yep, we use
Sometimes
all
they can
Gmail,
remote
like
it and
docs
fix it
here.
for us.
So we can just go to the Gmail and basically plug in our new address
Yeah, yeah.
and then,
Add a new
Right.
account.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I do that.
so from home, okay.
Mhm.
So this is Chrome, what about Safari?
Unless they know me as C-top.
If you're at home, use Safari. Like I use a Mac.
No, we would have
Yeah,
put it in
sure.
the way,
Here we just
we
use
got it on your
Safari. I mean, we use
application.
Google Links.
So
And
this
they
doesn't
did-
mean it's only gonna go to
They
Chrome
did
or
make it
anything?
at L
No,
top
but the email address, you can use your Safari at
Just
home.
for here.
And you hit your account and your Gmail. It'll take you there still. I use Safari at home for my browser, but then once I log in, I have to use all the Google stuff. But yeah, the browser is fine.
Did you get his Google phone?
I have all Apple products.
Yeah, so I just switched over to the Google phone.
Oh, really?
All of his, everything
I
he
don't
does
think
with
I could-
scheduling and everything is all in the Google and it all puts it in for him, so.
The change me was a capital C and a capital M, right? That's what I put in.
It looks really neat, the phone.
Does it?
You might-
Okay, I sent it to IT and they'll get you a new password, Leah, but everything we do tonight will be on that big screen, so you'll be able to still see everything. Okay, so everybody there? All right, so
Just your mail.
when you come in, you can just turn your computer will probably be already on for you if Zach's doing his job. It'll already be on for you. You can just then put in your email address and sign in. And then we'll show you how to use what's called iCompass, which is the software we use for the agendas and all that here shortly. So the next thing I want to cover with you is who are you? So you should have, we're going to give you some things, a name tag. So when you go to functions and things, you'll have that, business cards. And you'll also have the slider name tag in here that will be put up before your meetings. Are you guys feeling important yet? 'Cause-
Yeah, we're getting there.
all right.
My head's puffing up.
So if you would double check the artwork
That's
on
turning
these, and if they're okay, just write okay on there. So one is for, and it's gonna be Arts Commissioner, not Arts Commissioner.
Right.
Thank you.
And the phone number is what phone?
That is City Hall. If there's a phone number you would like us to put on there instead, like a cell phone or something like that, so people can call you directly, we're happy to do that as well. You can just write that in there.
I was feeling pretty important till I got
Do I have the right one, Becky? Becky.
Now, are we supposed to write okay on both of these?
Yeah, write okay on both of those if everything is correct. Put in a phone number if you want. If you want to do a less formal name or just a first initial or make a change, let us know.
About putting in personal phone numbers.
My thought is if I want the particular person to have it, I will write it on there and give
Yeah,
it to them.
there you go.
Otherwise, they can have the city's phone.
And they can just send you an email, right? So-
Yeah, that's,
Well, we like to give you
Yes,
your option
yes,
because
thank
some
you.
people do like to do that.
Thank you.
How would a message be forwarded to us if they call City Hall?
So, one of the folks at City Hall will probably take a message and they have your phone numbers.
Okay.
So they can call you and say, we have a message for you at City Hall, or send you an email with the phone message.
All right.
So we don't have to put our email or anything on this.
No.
yeah.
What else?
Okay,
Am I
they're good.
supposed to do something?
Fine, just put say
Say
that
okay.
your name's okay or everything, all the information is
Oh,
okay.
yeah. And you're gonna change it to S, to Arts Commission.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
got it. He's gonna collect those.
Thank you. That one good for you too? You can buy camera
And
from-
then, this is gonna be the last meeting where you get a bunch of dead
Pamela
trees.
usually
We're gonna
does
try to
that.
do this electronically after the tonight, but there's some stuff I wanted to give you. So what I'm handing out now is basically an overview of each department in the city, who's in charge of that department, and a little brief of what they do. There will be no test on this later, so it's just informational for you. So if sometimes in your capacity as an arts commissioner, somebody in the community might come to you and say, hey, there's a stop sign down, or there's something else going on, because they don't understand what your role is. So at least this way you might have an idea of who to send them to. If you don't, just send them to City Hall to the front desk. They can handle it, just about anything else. There's a few changes on there, but they're really minor. But this will give you a good idea of who's who in our zoo and what they do. And if a community member comes and asks you, you'll have that information. Questions so far?
Nope.
Okay, let's get into some meat and potatoes here. So Oregon Revised Statute 192 is the law that governs public meetings. As an offshoot or representative of the city council, you are all selected by city council, and this is governed by city council. So you are therefore de facto representatives of our government. So every meeting that you have is required to be public, open to the public. So that includes if a quorum, what's a quorum of 7?
5?
4?
Oh, 4.
4 or more. So 4 of you are out having beers somewhere, and you start talking about city business, that's a quorum. That's in violation of the public meeting rules, because that meeting would have to be noticed in advance, posted, advertise basically that you were having a meeting and what you were discussing. So as long as you're in packs of less than 4, you're fine, right? But if you're in 4, you have to be mindful of that. I'll give you an example. Last council meeting, we had a workshop prior, so we have dinner for the council when they have to come straight here from work. And there were 4 people standing in there, and 2 of them started having a conversation. I'm like, hey, there's a quorum. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So they ran out, right? So you have to be mindful of that. You can have a quorum in an email conversation as well. So you can't have an email meeting. You can't discuss and decide on anything in an email chain. You got a question of, like, you're pensive.
Well, because why East Artisans Guild, we will all be at meetings, and occasionally a part of what we do is network. And discussing the Arts Commission would be a part of what Y East would be interested in, and it would be something we'd discuss. So how would we go about informing or discussing the Arts Commission as a whole? Should we have a speaker in? So we are not talking about it?
I would have a speaker in, or just have 3 of you, or less than 4.
So somebody
Yeah.
will have to step out.
Or you'll have to publicly notice the meeting, the location, the time,
Okay.
and all of that, and it will have to be posted, which
Okay. Not-
Zach can help you with, but
Yeah, but it would
that's
probably be-
workload, right?
But it would
So-
probably be better or acceptable to just simply make sure that one of us didn't be in the meeting at the time that
Right.
was discussed.
Right,
Okay,
right.
got
So
it.
just be mindful of,
Yeah,
of
okay.
that. Now, I don't think there's a huge quorum police rolling around that's gonna,
But we might be surprised.
throw cuffs on you, but it sure as I'm sitting here, it will be the one time one errant decision gets made that affects somebody who's really mad about it now, right? And so next thing you know, we're all getting depositions and all this other stuff, so we don't want to do that. It's really not that big a deal. I've never seen anybody really get hurt or in any trouble over this. It's just something to be mindful of so that we're following the rules.
Okay. So that brings me around to the question of, are we indemnified by the city?
Yes,
Okay.
you're covered under the city's insurance.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, along that same lines, we have a library show once a year. And so does that mean that our 4 of us are there and we're discussing that library show, that's city business?
Is the city sponsoring the library show?
Yeah, the library is the city, right?
Yes, could be.
Okay.
So you can be at the show,
We just
just
can't
don't discuss
discuss
art
any-
commission business.
Can't say art commission business. Okay.
Yeah, you can talk about each other's art, you can talk about any other thing.
Oh, and
But
we've
you
talked
just
about
can't-
how we're gonna run the show and set it up, just not in relationship to anything going on with the city.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Okay, so, let's see, meeting minutes are required by this ORS, so that's why we're doing the video audio thing. Zach will then take a condensed version of what was discussed, basically beef up what's on the agenda right now, beef that up a little bit, and then the rest is recorded. So it's open to the public, anybody could come and look at it, request copies of things. If you make notes while you're sitting at the dais, those are subject to public records requests. So be judicious in the notes. This guy's art sucks is probably a bad idea, right? Stuff like that.
But
So-
what if it sucks?
Well, it could.
You're just like, we're just being
You're gonna have to
honest.
That's
prove it in court.
So the other
Should
thing
be
is,
hard.
if you do take notes, you'll either have to hand them over to Zach at the end of the evening, or you'll have to keep them in a file at home and be able to reproduce them if technically you are keeping notes for some reason. So we can either keep them for you, or you can keep them at home. It's up to you, or you can just not take notes. And I'll show you in iCompass, there is a notes field in there so that you can type in some notes if you want, and then it's just part of the record.
Oh, perfect.
Okay? Questions on the public meeting law?
So if we're having a meeting discussing a piece of art for
Mhm.
public display,
Mm-hmm.
and there's been, say, several people have submitted
Mm-hmm.
work,
Yep.
and we really don't like something,
Yep. You can say that.
you can say, but just
Yeah.
don't be rude and say it sucks?
Well, no, what I'm saying is anything that you take notes, if you don't want that to be public in the future, don't write it down.
Okay.
If you don't mind,
Or say it.
if
What
you
we
don't
say
mind,
amongst us, what we say back and forth amongst us at a meeting, is that recorded somewhere?
yes, it's
Yes.
being recorded live right now.
All right,
Yep. So, and it's playing live right now.
okay.
So, yeah, so everything that you do or say is open to public. There are a few exceptions for council that's executive session, but they're few and far between. I don't believe that there will be any executive session qualifiers for you. So everything you do is open and fair game for the public. So if there's something that you wouldn't want out in the public, don't write it down or don't say it, because it'll be out there.
I have my add person screen back. Can I go ahead and try to get it back in?
You could try it, sure. If you have questions about that as we move forward, feel free to reach out to me. That first slide's got my email address on it, the one that showed you how to set up, so you can just reach out to me there. Or just call the phone number at City Hall and they'll send you over to my office. Okay, legal issues. So we have a city attorney on retainer. It's through the Barry Elsner and Hammond group. They're excellent. You will never, ever be contacting our city attorney directly. If there is something that we need legal advice on for the Arts Commission, you go to either Zach or to myself. Either one, we already might know the answer, so there's no sense in us paying $250 an hour to get another answer for you, right? Or it might be something that we need to handle in a mindful fashion. So, and I suspect the biggest issue legality-wise for you guys are going to be First Amendment issues. What is and what isn't covered under the First Amendment, and what is and what isn't a First Amendment issue when you're selecting arts, right? So just be mindful that we do have access to legal stuff. If you have questions about legality issues, let us know. We'll get answers for you. We have the council, the planning commission, the Transit Advisory Board, the Library Advisory Board, the Sandy Net Advisory Board, the Parks Advisory Board. This isn't our first rodeo, so chances are it's already been asked before and we already know the answer, but we will definitely get you one if we don't know. Okay, this is the fun one, probably one you weren't thinking about, but this is the Statement of Economic Interest. So the state of Oregon has a division called the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. And basically, as you can see in the PowerPoint, it talks about what you can and can't do legally. And this includes that you will have to do a filing of a statement of economic interest. So so it's not as scary as it sounds. I have to do one as well because of my position. So I'm basically just certifying, and it's electronic, it's pretty easy. I'm just certifying that I don't have any financial interest in anything that the city's involved in that would benefit me financially. I have to disclose if I have any offshore accounts, if I have any if I had any stocks in foreign entities, things of that nature. So what you'll be getting to your Sandy email address in the near future from Carrie Milne, who is our city recorder. Her name is on that piece of paper I gave you. You'll be getting an email link to the Oregon Economic Ethics Commission. Gosh, that's a long one. And you just click on that, and that will give us a username and a password, because you'll have another one now. And then it will set you up an account, and you'll fill out, you just basically answer the questions, and then every year, I think it's March, you'll get an email from them saying you need to renew it because you're still in office, basically.
So this is just basically conflict of interest.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So, and you can have a conflict of interest on a matter and still be on the panel. It just depends on what that conflict is, on whether or not you need to recuse yourself. So a conflict of interest is truly anything that's going to provide you financial gain or a family member financial gain. So if you're on the commission and you're advocating for a particular piece of art, that you were involved with, and you're gonna get a reach-around check for that, that's a conflict of interest. You can't make a decision on that. Certainly if somebody's wanting to gift you some things, if their artist chosen, that's a conflict of interest. And there's a $50 limit on gifts that you can receive in the position you're in. So if it's close to that, or if you think it's gonna be over that, let the city recorder know that you've gotten a gift.
That'd be an upgrade.
Yeah,
Well,
it doesn't take much to get to $50 anymore.
going back to the library show, if we sell a piece of work there, is that a conflict of interest?
No, because you're not making a decision in your official capacity here that
Okay.
will benefit you financially.
Okay.
So that's two different things. This is making decisions on behalf of the city that will net you money.
Okay.
So to have an art show that only you can participate in, that would be a conflict of interest.
Mhm.
But having an art show that any artist can be in would not.
Okay.
Now, if you have a conflict of interest, it's very simple. All you have to do is say, I have a conflict of interest. So then the chair would probably have you remove yourself. So basically, if you recuse yourself from the decision, and you only have to recuse yourself for the decision on that particular item, not for the whole meeting, you simply get up and sit in the audience chair while the decision is being made, and then you get back up and you go sit in your spot. If you're not sure if it's a conflict of interest or not, you can declare that you have a potential conflict of interest, just potential, because you're not really sure. And then you can just kind of talk about what that might be, and you can or cannot decide to recuse yourself. It's up to you. The biggest thing is getting it on the record that there is or is a potential. And then also where it will be impactful is if you've got art, say you've got a couple of artists here trying to get something into a showing or something, and maybe you think you have a potential conflict, you state it, they don't have any issue with it, you're good to go, right? You've just declared it. So it's just to keep us from hiding that I'm gaining financially in some way or fashion, or my family's gaining some way. So that's what this is about. Yeah, I think that's about it. Questions on that? If you get on their website, which you'll get a link to, it talks about all of this in a lot more detail. And if you really think you're gonna be in situations where you have conflict of interest and you're really worried about it, I can have our attorney come in and do a little training with you, but it's gonna be pretty much just what I said. If you think you have a conflict of interest, just recuse yourself or just acknowledge that you think this might be a potential one. And then you can talk about it and say, how are you benefiting from that financially? We see it on our planning commission because one of our planning commission members is some sort of an engineer, and he works a lot on some of the things that ends up coming before a planning commission. So he has to recuse himself and go sit in the audience for that particular client. We see it with our council sometimes. Councilor Exner is a realtor. So sometimes a particular development, maybe he's sold the property or the property's listed with him, he would have to recuse himself because he'd get a commission if that sells, right? So it happens sometimes. It's not that big a deal. It's not like it happens all the time. I don't expect it much with you, but I have to cover it for you. So financial considerations. This is financial as far as the city, not you. So when we do a biennial budget, so we only budget every 2 years. It's kind of unique, although more and more people are starting to do it. And what it does is it gives us, instead of having to work January through May or June to create a budget, and then have to do it again in January, and then do it again in January, and never get any other work done because we're doing budget and audits all the time. So we do it every 2 years. So that gives us a full year of not having to do that, and so we can get other projects done, which is really good. But it takes a lot of forecasting, right?
Yeah.
And knowing that an arts commission was on the council's list of goals, I put some money aside for an arts commission, even though we didn't have one then. So you have a modest budget right now. The way this works, though, is you can only spend money that's been budgeted. If you want to spend money that has not been budgeted, then we have to go to the council and ask for more, or out of their contingency fund. Tell you there is not enough for anything right now. But this will easily get you through the rest of this biennium. We'll be starting our budgeting process in January, and the new budget takes effect July 1st. So, you know, we're only a few months really that this budget will cover you. And I set the money aside. I didn't put any labels on what it could be used for. So it could be used for promotional things, anything like that. Zach will be your gatekeeper on the money, and I'm his gatekeeper on the money. And the way it works is basically if you guys have discussion, you want to do something, you want to establish maybe some sort of foundations for art installations that can receive a rotating piece or something along that line, then there's some contracting rules we have to follow. So government is very unique in their contracting rules. Depending on the value of the project, we might have to pay prevailing wage, union wages, which adds another 30% to the cost. If it's under that, not so much. There's some contracts that the city manager can sign directly without having to go to council, and that's based on the type of work it is and the dollar amount. I have limits that I can spend without council approval on budgeted money. Department heads can spend up to $5,000 on things that are not budgeted if they have the capacity in their budget without getting any approval. Anything over that, they have to come see me, and then anything over another dollar amount, I have to go see council. So there are some specific things. And I threw grants in here because there might be grants that you want to apply for. I know there's quite a few out there available. And you can apply for and get as many grants as you want. How's that? The only place where this is going to become an issue is if there is some sort of cost sharing with the city. So if we have to do a match, we have to make sure that money is in the budget to do a match. If it's not, we have to go to council and ask for money for the match. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So if there's any financial piece to this, it either has to be already budgeted or it has to meet these certain contract requirements that allow either myself or Zach or to sign a contract and get into that. Also, depending on what kind of project it is, if it's construction, if it's a special service like an architect or an engineer or something along that line, if it's just an artisan, if it's just a baker, if it's just whatever, all of those have different rules associated. So it's quite complicated. So on the financial piece, talk to Zach first, come to a decision on what you need, what you want to do with money, that kind of thing. Zach and I will talk it out, and we'll figure out what path we need to follow to make it happen.
Is there a grant writer available, or
There is not.
We write our own grants? Okay.
There is no grant writer on staff.
And our budget is?
I think I have about 10,000 set aside for this biennium right now. I have to look it up. I should have probably thought of looking it up before I had the meeting with you, but I didn't. So I believe it's about $10,000.
Won't be spending any money
15,000.
today, so that's okay.
Right. I wasn't too worried about
Unless you're
that,
charging us
so-
for that coffee out there.
I would not. I've had that
It's too
coffee out
strong.
there.
Okay.
You notice I have this from Mountain Mocha.
Yeah.
Just saying. I was ex-military, so there's no such thing as too strong a coffee, but you know. Anyway, so the finances can get to be kind of onerous, but we'll manage the money for you and help you understand what you have at any given moment. He'll get a report every month about what your budget looks like. And right now it's just one line item, so it's just one big lump sum. As your program develops, we can work with our finance director, Tyler, and he can create projects for you or line items for you, like supplies and copying and marketing and all of those other things. And then we'll work with Zach and work with you as far as a budget moving forward. So, know what you think is reasonable.
So in many building projects, there's a set aside for art, say a 1% set aside for
Mhm.
art. Is Sandy currently involved in any projects that has something like that?
No. No, but that's a good option. Yeah, that would be a good option.
Put it in the new budget.
Okay.
Is that a proposal that would come from this committee?
Yes, it certainly could. It would certainly, what would happen is you guys could come up with a proposal like that. Then Zach would write that up in a staff report and present it to council.
We wouldn't need to necessarily be present
Nope.
to make the proposal.
You certainly could if one of you wanted to come and represent or talk to council about it or ask questions, but this is why you have a staff person to help with that too, because we're already asking you for one night, probably a month or so, depending and that'll be up to you as well. We'll talk about that later, but, so, I mean, we want to be respectful of your time and your commitment. So I'm paying him, so we don't need to be respectful of his time and his commitment. Okay. iCompass, this is how meetings will be conducted. So, let me, you know what, we didn't send you the link, so I'm just gonna share with you what it looks like. If I can get out of this. Thank you. So if you look at your big screens, so on the left side, because I have the screen split, so on the left side is the agenda, and it's just like the paper copy out there. And this is the general setup, the Pledge of Allegiance, roll call, changes to the agenda, all that. So this is the general setup that we have for council. You guys can decide that you like this or you don't, and you want to have a different layout, and we can make it customized for you. We just use the one that we use for council for now. So you do need to have somewhere in there a place for public comment. It can be at the beginning, it could be at the end, it could be in the middle, it could be at the beginning and the end, however you want to do it. But this is democracy in action, right? This is the chance for people in the public to come to you and say, hey, Arts Commission people, I don't want a giant nose as a piece of art in my town. You know that Lake Oswego's got a giant nose, right? Did you know that?
Who
They
does?
have Lake Oswego. They have a giant nose as a art install. So I always mock it, but sorry.
Yeah, right.
It would have been funnier if you knew what that was. Anyway, so the changes to the agenda, that is generally for something that's a spot where Zach will speak. This is a spot where I speak at the council, and this is basically something drops off at the last minute. An example would be the Public Works Director is going to present on some underground widget thingy, and he doesn't have all the quotes back or something at the last minute, so he's not prepared to go forward, so I would remove it. Very rarely will we add to the agenda. Why would we not want to add to the agenda at the last minute?
Public notice.
That's right, because that's unfair to the citizens. They didn't know that you were going to be talking about that item, so it's unfair to them. They didn't have a chance to come and weigh in. So we try not to do that. There's sometimes we have to because there's an emergency. I can't imagine an arts emergency, but you never know. It's possible.
The paint didn't dry.
Right? So, but you always want to have the changes on the agenda be known. And usually that's just a verbal report. Any presentations, so maybe you have some scout troop or some dance troop that wants to come in and give a presentation, that's where we would list that. And then just the standard old business, new business. Consent agenda is generally just reviewing the meeting minutes from the meeting prior and approving them. He will go, Zach will go write them up and submit them in the consent agenda, and then you'll be able to look at it and approve the meetings from the minutes from the last meeting.
I'm surprised those aren't at the beginning.
Yeah. The consent agenda?
Yes.
We can put it wherever you want. This is just where we normally put it, is after all the general business. So,
Does that
I
help?
like it at the beginning because it kind of refreshes your mind.
yeah. we
But
can do
then
that. Are you
also,
making notes,
do you
Tom?
have, if you're having people in the audience, it gives them a chance to speak and then they can leave.
Correct.
And then you can do boring business afterwards.
Correct. Because it's really just housekeeping.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's see, that's consent agenda. That's pretty much the layout that we use for council, planning commission. I think some of the advisory boards, I'm not sure that they're all doing exactly the same way. The planning commission does not do the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know why. It never started. Council always does. I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to do it or not. So we've talked about 7.1. That's the onboarding for the most part. Let's see, and here's the staff report associated with that. I just did a little staff report to show you. So you notice I clicked on the left side, 7.1, the underlined, and that brought up my staff report. And then any attachments. So I was going to have you review your cards and your name tags. That's kind of what they'll look like in a more full size. Let me make sure I hit all of my pieces here.
Kim, in a meeting, how do you like to be addressed if you're in a meeting?
Kim is fine.
Okay.
Kim is fine. Yeah. Hey, you. I was a cop for 25 years, so it's pretty hard to hurt my feelings.
I was worried you might take me down if I didn't do it right.
I've been called much worse, trust me, and everything you can think of. So, but thank you for asking. That's really the onboarding pieces that I have for tonight. 15 minutes early. I did allow some room for, your roll here too. You want to hand these out?
And then are we going to discuss the draft?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what we're handing out.
And add to, copy.
So
Tried
here's your
this
roll.
once,
This
it still
is
didn't accept the password.
This is basically the mission or what's established in the draft of your bylaws and in the ordinance. That's what you're handing out now, right, is the ordinance?
Oh, the bylaws.
The
yes.
bylaws, okay. So the way this works is I wrote an ordinance, took it to council and said, please establish this arts commission because it's your goal, right? So they established it, and then when we established that, the idea was for you to come up with your own bylaws. You'll need to have a chair and a vice chair. But I asked Zach to start you off with a draft. He and I have both at different times gone to different arts commissions, looked at their bylaws, done a lot of research to kind of get an idea for what's working and what's not. Because there's no sense in reinventing the wheel, right? So we wanted to give you a starting point so you weren't bogged down for 2 or 3 meetings trying to come up with all the things that should be in a bylaw. But I think the biggest place that our commissions and our advisory boards get into trouble is when they don't understand what their role is and what their role is not. So you won't be, other than your bylaws and policies related to the art, what you accept, what you don't, what your criteria are, what your vetting processes are, all of those things. Everything else is a council decision. So council is in charge of the big goals setting and policy of the city, how the city is to be run. One of those policies now is through this chapter 18 that establishes the Arts Committee. And in that ordinance, they've said, we want you to do your bylaws and have a chair and a co-chair, and we want you to meet, we want you to do these things on behalf of the city. Encourage, conduct, sponsor, co-sponsor public programs, further the development of public awareness of and the interest in fine and performing arts, and then so on and so forth. So this is basically your marching orders, right, your mission, for lack of a better word, from the council. And they may come back to you at some point and say, in addition to this, could you also do that, right? So that's kind of what your role is to execute the directives of the council. And I talk about that a little bit because we've had some rogue factions that occasionally get a little bit outside their lane and want to do things like protest a decision by one of the other councils. That's not happening, right? So that's not your role. Your role is to drive the ship for art, because I don't want the council deciding what is and what isn't art. One, because I have a lot of other things I need them to be doing, and two, they are not artists, right?
However, they'll take our recommendation on, let's say, a public art installation, and they'll decide whether they want to do that.
So here's what I'm envisioning is You want to do a public art installation at the beginning of the entrance to the city. Councils that are right with you, yes. Not what the art's going to be,
Okay,
right?
it's
We-
not their final vote then.
Correct.
Okay.
It's your vote to decide on all things related to the art. Now, when it comes to money, when it comes to a big policy that's gonna affect the city and the way people look at the city, that's gonna be a council issue. But if it's a giant nose that you wanna put out there, that's your choice, right? I don't want the council bogged down trying to decide, I like this, but I don't like that, right? So, but if it's, can we have a piece of city property for an installation? Council, can they have that piece of property? And a lot of this we can handle through staff. I can handle it in a city manager's report and just, or put it in a staff report and just go to council at my council meeting and say, the Arts Commission has forwarded this information through Zach, they're gonna put us install over here. Any opposition? No? Okay, great. So, we want them to think they're in charge, you know.
If the council says, you said they could add something, maybe, could you add and do this? Are they actually saying you have to do that, or are they actually asking?
I'm not sure I'm following you.
I don't know what you were referring to when they said they could add something in and ask us if we could do something else.
Yeah, like maybe,
Expand the mission.
yeah, or maybe it's a specific thing, like, for Sandy Mountain Festival this year, would it be possible for you to have some sort of performance, a live performance, in connection with that?
Okay.
Something along that line.
Meaning they'd like that to happen, but
Yeah.
you don't have to do it.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And there are other people in the city who work on things on city property, like the music in the park
Mm-hmm.
and so on. So they'll still be working on, those city employees will still be doing those type of artistic,
Yeah.
art-related things.
Yep. Now, there might be a place where we can merge those things, if that's the direction that you guys would like to see. But because I think at some point we're gonna have to deconflict some of those things also.
Well, knowing timing and just knowing what's going on in town and so on, if you're working under the same umbrella, that can
Mm-hmm.
facilitate things.
Mhm.
But also, you're not reinventing the wheel,
Mhm.
entertainment-wise. You already
Mhm.
have people who are coming
Mhm.
into different things.
That's a good
I just
point.
wasn't sure.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
good point. Yeah, most of those programming pieces will just continue on. Our citizens expect them, they're already established,
Mhm.
things of that nature. So,
Now, this is just a draft. right?
correct.
So
This is
we
just a
can
jumping
add or
off
strike
point.
to it.
Yes.
Or add to it.
Yeah, just a jumping off point to give you some idea.
Okay, so just to go back to that point again. So if you have an arts commission that's fostered, and you're trying to foster the concept that Sandy is an arts-related venue, for instance, or we
Mhm.
have all these things, it might be helpful in promoting Sandy if you can go to a place where it says Arts Commission, and we do this, and we do this, and we do this, and we do this.
Yes, so as you get established, we're trying to get infrastructure and foundation first,
Mhm.
right? But as you get established, just like with name tags and business cards, you'll have a website, you'll have a page on the
Okay.
website.
Okay,
We have a webmaster who will take the information from Zach
right?
and add it. So if you get on the City of Sandy website, you'll see that we have an aquatic center thing, we have updates on the Sandy Community Campus, we have an emergency operations page. So we would just add the Arts Commission and let people know, hey, we've got an Arts Commission now, and I'm tonight or at a later date, whatever you're comfortable with, I'd like to get photographs of you, because if you'll look at our website, the Planning Commission has a picture of each one of them and a little bio. We'll do the same with you and make you all official and get it all up there.
Do we make decisions about the term limits? Or is that?
No, that was
handed down?
established by the ordinance.
Okay. So one can only serve that term, you can't serve another term after that?
No, you can serve another term, that term expires, but you can serve two
Two
terms.
terms, okay.
Correct.
Is that the 4 years?
Now, who's
Yes.
serving
2
2 years and
It's
who's
2
serving
years.
4, do we
Well,
know?
read the,
I don't.
Well, I haven't,
First
I've been
that
listening, I haven't read
yeah,
it.
okay.
Like at the next meeting?
Mhm.
Okay.
So, my recommendation, let's see if I have anything else here for you. I should follow my own PowerPoint, right? So my recommendation is that you take the draft home with you tonight, read it, read it over, chew it up, spit it out, make notes, do whatever you want to do. And then, when you come back again, I assume you're gonna try it in a month?
Yep.
Come back again, think about setting up your chair, your vice chair, and then, start working on your bylaws and what you want your agenda to look like. Communicate with Zach on some of these things. You'll have some meetings. So everything that you do, though, you'll want to, if you have agenda items, get them to Zach. He'll put them on the agenda. We will put your bylaws, chair, vice chair, on the agenda for you. We'll put minutes from tonight's meeting on the consent agenda for you. So that will all be there on the agenda. And if there's anything else that you think you want to discuss, get that to him and he'll put that on there. He cannot work just for one of you. You have one decision to make. So you can't order him to go do something without the consent of all the other folks. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So you are one entity. No one of you has more authority or say than the other. The chair and the vice chair would simply run the meeting, right? Make sure you follow Robert's rules and get motions and all of that other stuff. And at some point, we might have to move into judicial and quasi-judicial, all that stuff too.
Yeah.
So we might have to look at that,
Sure.
but that's a whole nother topic. So my recommendation, if you should choose, is to go home and digest that. Think about the chair and vice chair situation, and then anything else that pops into your mind. If you want it on the agenda, give it to Zach, and then we'll meet again and start moving this train forward a little bit and get us organized. And then once we get the infrastructure of you down, then you can start setting some goals and some ideas and start the actual fun stuff, the art stuff.
So, Kim, is this your baby? Are you responsible for saying, we need an arts council in San
This was a goal directed by the council. And so my baby is all of the council goals. So that's my job, is to take the policy and the goal setting of the council and make that happen through the use of staff. To the
Well,
best, and money, to the best of my
I'm glad that
ability.
they have decided to do that. So.
Yeah, me too. I think it's awesome. I'm an artist as well.
Excellent.
I paint, so I love it. I think this is great. But I can't be too prejudiced because I have to love all my babies equally.
Will meetings always be an hour, or can we decide if we want to go
You can
longer?
decide if you want to go longer. You can decide if you want your meetings to be standard every month. What we've done with most of the other boards is if you have agenda items, instead of mandating a monthly meeting. If you maybe around Christmas, you guys don't want to meet in December because of the holidays. Maybe in the summer, you want to take a month or 2 months off because everybody's on vacation, you can't get a quorum together. So think about building in some of that flexibility for yourself, right? Meeting only once a month instead of twice a month.
And we could actually put that in the bylaws.
You could,
Saying,
absolutely.
July and August, we don't meet. In
Yeah.
December, we don't meet,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. So.
I would highly recommend thinking about that kind of stuff. Make it easy on yourselves. This is a marathon, right?
Yeah.
I think when we're reading this over also, we have to be aware of the art is more than visual.
Mhm.
And we have to be really encompassing
Mhm.
of all art forms
Mhm.
and art fields.
Mhm. Oh, it could include something like a sensory garden too, and it's boundless, right?
Yes.
Truly boundless.
Yes, but I know on this first page of the draft, it mentions visual arts. And I think we need to leave out the visual. We need to concentrate on just arts in general, because
Well, and that's why you're gonna take the bylaws and start working on
Add to
them.
them.
Yep, yep,
Because there's a lot of different forms of art out there.
yep, absolutely.
If it would be helpful to anyone, I looked into a lot of other cities, and they're just brief
Mhm.
mission statements
Mhm.
that they put on their Chamber of Commerce websites. If anybody wants any of those, or maybe we, in a future meeting when we're trying to figure out what we want our statement to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, in the future,
So keep in mind that Chamber of Commerce are not city.
right.
They are a private, nonprofit organization. So just FYI.
Yeah, okay.
So their mission is gonna be different than the mission of the city.
Mhm.
But
it's- that's
but
support
the
business.
elevator 30-second soundbite might be
Right.
very similar, so
Perhaps, perhaps,
it just would,
yep.
you might just hear
I
something
actually
that
didn't go
was
to the
catchy.
Chamber of Commerce sites when I did this. I was assuming it was Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, okay.
What I Googled was mission statements for our commissions.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, perfect. Okay,
And there's quite a bit out there.
okay, good. And that might be a good place to start, because that mission statement could help you define what your bylaws should include to help you meet your mission.
Shall I hand these out now?
It's up to you guys, this is your meeting.
Anybody want them now, or should we do it in a future?
Sure, might as well review them while we're
Yeah, if you brought
reviewing
them.
the other. We might want to marry them.
Okay.
So how much of this is in 18?
Some of it is, I can't give you exactly percentages, but.
Okay, so we
um,
should read 18 because we do need to include those verbiage items and then,
Yeah,
I can send that to Tom.
yeah.
I'll send you
It's,
the link.
it's also on the Sandy website.
Okay.
If you wanna know how to maneuver the Sandy. you can
so we
just-
should read chapter 18.
It's very short. So if you look on your big computer screens, I'm on the City of Sandy webpage. You go about Sandy, and then to the municipal code. And then down to Title 18, you see Arts Commission, that's you guys.
Okay.
And then just click on that. And then here's the ordinance that establishes you. Basically, it just establishes you, authorizes a budget, talks about your meetings. Basically, it just says you need a bylaws.
But they didn't establish in that the regularity of the meeting.
No,
Okay.
no, I don't believe so.
Okay, well, as long as we're consistent with that in the
Yeah, it says
bylaws.
Arts Commission shall meet at a date, time, and place to be established by the commission and as necessary given agenda items needed,
Okay.
needing action.
All right.
I've been scribbling down notes so I don't forget things, so is that like, it has to be turned in and recorded for public?
Your notes?
Yeah, I'm just writing down things so because I don't want to forget to do this, you know?
Yeah,
stuff like
so you'll just, you can just keep those at home in a file
that. Okay,
that you can retrieve if somebody should ever ask you for your notes from your meetings.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
I do have one quick
Sure.
question.
We're not in any hurry.
So back to the definition of a quorum.
Yep.
Now that we all have an email, and it'll probably be another month before we do meet,
Mhm.
is it okay to have an email thread talking about maybe suggestions for the bylaws so that we can take care of that business when we get here, since it will be on public record through, I mean, is that something we should or should not be doing? We
You should not be doing
Okay,
that.
good call,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, you should not be doing that.
Okay.
Because that's gonna be considered having a meeting.
Okay.
Because you're discussing it.
But really smart and private enterprise.
But,
But it's a really smart idea in private enterprise.
Yes.
oh, sure.
Yes.
I mean,
It's
just
ju-
because it's what
Absolutely.
everyone
Right,
does.
it's a
Yes.
private enterprise. It's very
Yes.
smart in
Yeah.
private enterprise to
Yeah.
do that, but it just doesn't conform
I
with
mean,
the.
the other thing you can do, if you don't wanna wait a month, that's fine, and you can also hold a workshop. It's still open to the public, it's a little less formal, and it's just discussion. You don't have to necessarily come up with any decision points, but you can just sit down and have a meeting. You just have to publish that you're having the meeting.
Okay.
And you can have it really anywhere, it's just more convenient to do it here because of the meeting minute requirements.
We have to publish in what way?
So, and again, Zach and our city recorder takes care of that, but it has to be a noticed meeting, so we have to notice the community at least 24 hours in advance by both posting, publishing in the newspaper, and on the website that you're having a meeting.
in a newspaper.
Yeah.
And I don't want to interrupt, but merely to add to that, say we did want to have a workshop,
Mhm.
and we needed to give 24 to 48-hour notice to Zach. How would we know, this would be a great place to do it, but is there another room if this one was taken that we could have, should we be doing those workshops here in this room?
Ideally, yes.
Okay.
That is the
Because
best.
the public
the-
is still
The
invited.
best
Right.
choice,
Yes.
yeah,
The
because we
cameras
have
in.
to make sure wherever we hold it is ADA accessible.
Mhm.
The other issue that we have through ADA accessibility, and the reason that we like this is because we're broadcasting live, but it's also closed caption, so we're
Okay.
meeting that requirement as well. And we can't do that in just every place. Now, if the room is full and we can't get in, we could maybe use the Sandy Library meeting room or the community center meeting room, but we have to make sure that does meet the ADA compliance as much as possible.
Okay. And so that being said, we would just need to contact Zach and say we
Yeah.
want to do it on this date. Is
Yeah.
the room available for us?
And
to do so?
generally, if you stay away from Monday nights, you're golden,
Okay.
because the first and third is council, and the second and fourth are planning commission.
Okay, so Mondays are just the business for
those
the
out.
city. Okay.
Yeah, and then occasionally Tuesdays, we have workshops for council, but not everyone. So, but, Wednesday, Thursday, almost always open,
Okay.
but.
So,
Mhm.
Got a question. Did the council make any suggestion or idea on number one, why they wanted the commission, and number two, would they like to see it strictly for the residents of Sandy, or I guess what I questioned during my interview was, are you trying to stop people in Sandy to partake of what we have here?
Yeah, the big goal initially, I think, is to get visual art out, and have some sort of a walking art exhibit and get people to stop and visit and spend money. I think that was the driving force to get the Arts Commission going, to answer your
Yes.
question, was that key piece, something of interest in Sandy to make people stop and take notice, and to be a destination. Good question.
I've been to plenty of small towns that had an art walk, and I
Mhm.
just wanted to see what was on the art walk. So I
Mhm.
would go to Lake Oswego and not see the nose, evidently, but it was, I guess.
Yeah, it's very interesting. An interesting statistic is that people will drive an hour for every 4 hours of available activity at their destination. So if you have an art walk that takes 4 hours, people from as far away as 1 hour will generally come to see it, given that mathematical equation. I just learned that in economic development, but yeah.
That was impressive.
Thank you. It's on David's wall, actually. So, you'll see in the handout that I gave you, we have an economic development advisor or a manager. He might be another good one to bring to a meeting or two. He can help with tourism grants, because this has got a tourism piece to it, right? So he can help with that. And he knows players in the tourism world and some of the art world as well, so he might be very useful to you as well. If, as we move forward, there's questions about budgeting or budgeting ideas, we can bring Tyler in to meet with you, our finance manager, to meet with you and give you some ideas on how some things may or may not work in governmental budgeting. If you want to talk about what we can do as a city versus hiring somebody to do for as far as art installs, concrete on a pad for something, we have a entire public works department that might be able to take some of that heavy lifting off our shoulders. Our planning department, we could start building in pieces of art maybe into some of our developments, and this is some future stuff, but we could make some requirements for that 1%, or we could make some requirements for set aside in parklands that they have to put in with their developments for an art piece. So we can bring our planning department in to talk about that as well. We'd have to develop some ordinances that the council would have to approve that would say things like, not only do we want land for a park, but we also want a concrete pad for our art install, or we want a piece of art, or whatever. So There's all kinds of options, but we have the whole city. That's why I gave you a breakdown of what everybody does. Yeah, because that's the Army that gets it done.
It'd be wonderful to have hands-on artwork in the parks, I think.
Wouldn't it be great?
Mhm.
Uh-huh. I know you have more. Go ahead.
So just to clarify, this was discussed earlier, but I want to make sure I'm hearing it right. If I have an idea in between meetings and I want to call another council member and say, wow, what do you think of
Commissioner?
this
Mhm.
idea?
Mhm.
I can do that as long as there's not four of us, right?
Correct. You can have side conversations, in all candidness. Sometimes I have something that I want to discuss with council that I don't want at the particular moment to be public record. I can do pull-asides of 2 at a time, 2 or 3 at a time, and have conversations with them and give them all the same information, a few at a time, without violating the public meetings law.
Do we have a list of each other? Contact information?
So
Yeah, that
I'm
would be good.
gonna send around a list for that purpose.
And I know everyone here except for this gentleman, and I don't know if he knows any of us.
Do you want to do introductions
So
with
if we
each other?
could.
Sure, go for it.
I'm Becky Hawley, and I'm not a Sandy City resident, but I moved up the mountain in 1976, and I've always considered Sandy my new hometown. So I was glad to
You need
see
to fill
that.
that out.
I'm glad to see that the resident requirement.
Yeah, so
Scrap.
what we did with all of our advisory boards is instead of limiting it to just Sandy residents, we opened them all up to service area, and we're defining that by, for your purposes, as anybody who lives in the Sandy Library District or the Oregon Trail School District, so that we could cast our net a little broader, because we do recognize that even though if you don't live in the city proper, you do consider this your community.
Right.
Yeah.
If you've got a Sandy mailing address, you're a Sandyite. Actually, the city is moving out to meet her goal.
There's one 20-acre piece between us and the city in a
Is it?
weird place.
So, introduction.
You want
Joan.
to introduce yourself?
Oh, I didn't know she was done. I'm Karen Topliff. I do live in this city. I use my first name is Leah, and so I use that because it's shorter to paint on a painting and a lot easier.
Try Yamashita at the end.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Just a big Y.
I'm Pamela Smithstead, and I'm a painter.
Guess that's it for her. I'm Adam Triplett, and I've met some of you in some of the interviewing process. I've lived in Sandy since 2006, and I do live in town proper.
Marcia Morrow, just moved to Sandy 2 years ago, lived in Gresham, live a ways out with the cows and the chickens, so, and I'm artist, I'm a watercolorist.
You know me,
Yeah, I know
Sandy
you,
Jordan
Sandy.
at the museum. He volunteers at the museum too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Lou Senick. My wife and I have been living here for about 22 months now. My career before I came here has been as a photojournalist. I've been doing that for more than 35 years. I'm now in the process of trying to reinvent myself. And what that new invention will be yet, I don't know. I haven't really decided yet.
Where'd you guys move from, Lou?
Coos Bay area.
Okay,
I lived in North Bend. I worked for the paper there for
okay.
20 years. And in Klamath Falls, and Nampa, Idaho, and West Bend, Wisconsin. I've been all over.
You'll be an asset to this community.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. I think so.
And written
Good
words
skill.
are part of the art form.
Hmm?
And written words are part of
Sandy
the art
Jordan.
form.
Oh, I just,
Oh, yeah, because I was
I didn't
looking
hear
at him.
anything.
'Cause we-
Okay.
So any
Sorry.
other questions or anything else you want to cover tonight?
When we adjourn, would you help me get this set up, please?
I have to wait for IT. There's not anything I can do tonight. They're gonna have to reset the password on the back end, so we'll have to try it next time you come.
Okay,
Yeah, because they're gonna have to do it on the back end. I can't do it.
okay.
So I just want to confirm, if we have a communication on the City of Sandy, it would send us a personal email saying you need to check City of Sandy? Or do I
No.
just have to go on there
You're gonna
every
have-
day?
You're gonna have to, well, you're gonna have to periodically check your email at City of Sandy. Yes, it
Okay.
will not go to your personal account.
There isn't a notification system.
Correct. Yes, because then you're using your personal account for city business.
Yeah, don't do that.
Well, I mean, I've worked with other, like Compass, whatever's,
Uh-huh.
and whenever something occurred on it, it would send a blip to your personal
Right.
email
You
saying
haven't-
something occurred
Yeah,
on
that
it,
would
and
be
then you
nice.
go check it.
Yeah, no, we don't have that.
We don't have that.
Mm-mm. Okay. Adam, you're close to the gavel. You want to gavel us out?
And why not?
Adjourned,
Ooh.
adjourned at 7:12?
7:12, meeting adjourned.
There you go. Good job.
Good job. You're hired.
Okay.
It was
So-
really nice to meet everyone and see everyone tonight, so.
The
Nice
real
to
big
meet
thing
you.
here is just remember that the mic is still hot, even though it's adjourned until he gets it all turned off. FYI. And then the other thing is you've adjourned the meeting, so, and you're a quorum, so don't discuss any art commission work, right?
I think it'll just be exciting as we move forward.
Yep. I think you guys are gonna do great. You're on the learning for
Were
that.
we supposed to set up a meeting before we adjourned, or
Oh,
how will we do that?
Do that.
Why don't we send out a
Doodle?
doodle poll?
Yeah, I'll send you all another
Yeah,
doodle
that sounds
poll.
good.
Yeah, we could do that.
I'll look at the
Like,
calendar,
should
too.
we wait
Yeah.
a whole month or do it like in 3 weeks? Because if we're not gonna do December.
So click on this one.
He's gonna send out.
We
a
could
doodle.
Yeah.
do December.